Most people have no clue the amount of wealth that is sitting in their home, and they're not really doing anything with it. And what they also don't realize is that home equity sitting in a home is doing nothing for you. And I'm a big believer in having equity staying safe for a certain degree, but I see a lot of people and a lot of clients that I talk to that can use their home equity to help save money and also build wealth. And so, what I want to do today is I want to share with you a few ways that we can actually use your home equity to help increase your wealth, and also what are the different types of ways so that way you can understand what might be the best loan strategic solution for you to help you build wealth over time. So let's dive right in and go through. The first thing I wanted to share is a staggering stat right now, and that's that 40% of homeowners are now mortgage free in America. And this chart goes back to 2010. It's a pretty eye-opening chart to show you that the average American's equity in their home has been going up more and more, but it also shows you that the amount of free and clear households in America are increasing, they're not decreasing. And when you go back to the 2008 timeframe, very different picture. We're in a very stable and a very house-rich economy right now in America. If we go to the next slide, this is another big stat right now that 2 out of 3 Americans that own real estate have at least 50% equity or have their home paid free and clear. Okay, so literally 2 in 3 households right now that own real estate basically have a ton of equity, right? A ton of money there, and they're not really utilizing it to their best advantage, right? Last stat I wanted to share, this is the average homeowner in America right now has 300K in equity. If we take all of the homeowners in America right now and we blend it together, we're at an average of $300,000 in equity right now in the United States. And so those three stats are huge. They're staggering. It's not a bad thing, but if you don't do anything with it, and I'm speaking to you in the camera right now, if you don't do anything with it, it can actually hold you back from building more wealth, saving interest, and really prospering in the future. And so let's talk through some strategies that I think you can use and start implementing this year, next year, and really start planning through it. So the first thing is when we're looking at building wealth with your equity, there's a few ways that you can use it. So number one would be debt consolidation, right? And so that could be paying off higher interest debts and improving your cash flow. A lot of people right now, credit card debt is at an all-time high in America, can use their home equity to consolidate credit card debt, student loans, car loans, personal loans, to basically not only lower the interest, but also lower the cash flow, right? And this is something that a lot of people don't realize is that 100K on a mortgage roughly is about 600 to 700 a month. Okay, so 100K on a mortgage, if you pull out 100K of equity, it's going to cost you about $600 to $700 a month. 100K on other debts might be costing you $2,000 or $3,000 a month. And so this could be a huge win for you to consolidate debt. The other thing is investing in other property or real estate, right? So one of the best ways is to use your home equity funds to purchase such as, investment long-term rentals, Airbnb, VRBO, short-term rentals that can really help you compound and grow your wealth. And because the reason is that we can use your existing asset to acquire another asset with smart leverage. It also helps with, increasing tax benefits as well, and your tenants will be paying the more new mortgage expenses if you do it appropriately. Again, I'm using some blanket terms here. Obviously, your situation, we have to go through, hold your hand and do a tailored experience with this. But if you look at it, if you take a mortgage out, especially if you can take a mortgage against an investment property, you're adding an additional tax write-off by adding a mortgage interest that you can write off on your taxes. You'll want to consult with your CPA on this, but it's a great way to increase your wealth by getting more appreciation, because now instead of having one property growing for you, now you have 2 properties growing for you. And I have some clients that have been doing this over and over, and they're at 10, 15 properties just by rinsing, repeating, using equity to acquire other properties in a safe way. Third thing is just what are the other ideas, right? So home improvement, right? Maybe you have that something in your house right now that's just been bugging you. You've been putting it off, and maybe now's the time to do that, right? Maybe it's redoing your roof, getting hurricane impact windows, doing a kitchen remodel, curb appeal, things that can improve the value of your house, and you don't have to use your cash to do that. The other thing is starting a business or buying a business, right? So using it for investment purposes such as creating alternate sources of income, or really blowing up and starting a great idea that you may have. funding a kid's college. Now, this one is, depending on your situation, you may be better off paying cash, getting other types of financing with student loans. But again, this is something to consider, especially if it's an investment property, because if you can borrow against an investment property to pay for college tuition, you can now create a tax write-off against the investment property. Whereas if you're taking student loans, that doesn't create the same tax write-off. Again, CPA question. I'm just giving you a high level here. Don't take my complete word for it. Talk to your CPA about that, but it is a great way to do it. And I say and more. And the reason is because there's a lot of other things, but to keep this video concise, focus on the list. Okay, so now let's talk about the 3 ways to actually unlock the equity, right? One is a cash out refinance, okay? So cash out refinance means we're going to rewrite a new loan. And so if you don't have a mortgage on your home, this is a great option and what I would prefer most because it's going to have the lowest interest rates, flexible fixed rate terms. You can do 15, 20, 30-year mortgages. They do carry lower interest rates than the other 2 options. Some of the cons, though, is that you lose your current rate and you also have a little bit higher closing costs in some situations. And so a lot of my clients closed with 2 to 3% mortgage rates. Maybe we don't want to pay off a 2 to 3% mortgage rate, and that's where we'll go into the other strategies. And so this really dictates and depends on your current situation. So if you own your home free and clear, you have a higher mortgage rate right now, or maybe you have a really small mortgage, cash out refinance might be a good option for you. Okay, now let's go through a HELOC, or stands for Home Equity Line of Credit. Now think about this in the non-negative way, like a credit card, right? You get approved for a limit. Let's say you get approved for a $100,000 HELOC, but you want to draw $50,000 or $75,000 on the HELOC. Well, you're only paying interest on the $50,000 to the $75,000, not the full $100,000. And so there is some flexibility to that, which helps. So that is a pro, right? You have flexible borrowing. They are interest only. This can be a pro or a con because you're usually not paying the balance down as part of that monthly payment, but you can also cycle and reuse the funds. And so this is something that I would say a more savvy individual would need to use this, but it is doable and it doesn't pay off your current first mortgage. So if somebody has a 2 to 3% rate, this is a great strategy. Now, the downsides are they are variable rates. They are tied to what the Fed does, right? When the Fed cuts rates or hikes rates, these HELOC rates move every single month. And so it is important to keep an eye on this, that there is risk when you take HELOCs because you're not taking a fixed rate. It is a variable rate. So when to use it? When you have a low mortgage rate that you don't want to get rid of and you want flexibility on when to use the funds. Now, the third option, this is something not a lot of people know of, is what's called a HELOAN. And this is a fixed rate second mortgage, okay? So we're not actually going to pay off the first mortgage. We're going to keep it the same. And it also has lower rates than the HELOC. We're going to have stability in this case. We're paying back the principal and the interest in this situation. The cons is that the rates are a little bit higher than if we did option 1, like a cash out refinance. But again, it can give you that scenario. You don't have to pay off your first mortgage. Also, you can't reborrow on this. It is a second payment. So when to use this is if you do have a low rate mortgage you don't want to get rid of, but if you're going to use all the money right at once. So if you say, hey, I need $100,000, I know exactly what I'm doing with it. I may say you want to do the HELOAN because you can get a lower rate. Maybe you do a 15-year instead of a 30-year, and that could really shave down the interest you repay on this second mortgage. Those are the 3 types of ways to get equity out of a residential property. These work for primary residence, second homes, and investment properties, all subject to different rates depending on your personal situation. And to put that into an example, let's just say a $500,000 home that was owned free and clear, and we take out $100,000 on a cash out refinance in option 1, a home equity line of credit in option 2, interest only, and then a HELOAN, a 30-year HELOAN in option 3. They're all going to be similar in closing costs, more or less. Again, we're doing a lower loan amount of $100,000, but you'll notice that the rate is kind of different, right? The rate on the cash out refinance is the best rate. The HELOC is the highest rate and it's interest only. And then the HELOAN is kind of somewhere in the middle, right? If you look at this though, it's anywhere from $643 a month to $714 a month. And so the HELOAN has the highest repayment. The HELOC has the higher rate, but it's interest only. So it's all within about $70 a month per $100,000 in this situation that we're looking at. And so again, my recommendation to you is that everybody's situation is different. So depending on your situation will dictate on, should we go with cash out refi, HELOC, or HELOAN? That's where you got to call me and my team. We'll help you through that and decide. So hope this video was helpful. don't sleep on your home equity. I'm not saying to over leverage. I'm saying let's have a conversation. Let's take a smart look at this of how can you use a mortgage on your existing home equity to help reposition into creating wealth, saving money on interest, and just putting yourself in a more prosperous financial situation. Look forward to staying in touch. Have an amazing day.